Never did I envision that my life would unfold in such a manner. A woman in her mid-40s stands solitary within the confines of a beautiful house, a profound sense of invisibility enveloping her more than ever before. My husband was perpetually absent. His business trips extended from days into weeks. Upon his return, his presence seemed less a heartfelt reunion and more a mere formality. Our conversations scarcely ventured beyond the realm of trivial exchanges. It had been years since we had shared any semblance of intimacy. I maintained a facade, prepared meals, tidied up, and greeted the neighbors with a smile. Yet within, I was diminishing. In the tender embrace of early spring, my husband revealed that he would be departing once more, this time for nearly a month. I nodded, feigning comprehension. As is my custom, I remained silent. I never did. I believed I had come to terms with this, or at the very least, I thought I had. Merely a week after his departure, my stepson Aiden made his way back from college for the much-anticipated spring break. At the age of 22, he stood tall, exuding politeness, and had consistently maintained a respectful distance from others. Since his middle school days, I had nurtured him, and thus our relationship had consistently been one of quiet formality. Yet now, he stood as a man, and there was a shift in the way his gaze met mine. At the outset, it was far from inappropriate. Yet it was unlike anything else. I observed that his gaze seemed to rest a moment longer than usual. His compliments, once delivered with a light touch, now carried a weight of intimacy. "You look beautiful today," he said one morning in the kitchen, his voice imbued with warmth. I brushed it aside with a chuckle, yet my heart fluttered. Our paths began to intertwine more frequently, largely by happenstance. He would assist with the groceries, propose to prepare dinner alongside me, and keep me company during late-night television shows. I endeavored to dismiss the escalating tension, yet I was not oblivious. Each time his hand grazed mine, and every moment he lingered a breath too near, I felt it deeply. As the day drew to a close, we found ourselves on the porch, captivated by the vibrant hues of the sunset. He expressed his admiration for the way I kept the family united, for the strength I showed for his father. I found myself at a loss for words. It had been years since I had received such praise. There was a quality to his voice, soft, yet sincere, that pierced the barrier I had constructed around my heart. I gazed at him and perceived more than just my stepson. A man caught my gaze, a man who acknowledged my existence. That night, slumber eluded me. I found myself revisiting our dialogues time and again. The intensity of his gaze, the fact that I remained still, I convinced myself it was all innocent. Yet beneath the surface, I was acutely aware of the deception I was weaving. I understood that this feeling transcended mere loneliness. I had traversed an emotional boundary that I could no longer ignore. Upon encountering him once more the following morning, the sight of his smile stirred a sense of unease within me. A yearning for attention was stirring within me, a deep desire to feel wanted, even if it was misguided. After an extended period of slumber, I found myself alert for the first time, yet a sense of fear enveloped me. I had yet to take action, but the awareness of my proximity to a precipice loomed large. If an intervention didn't occur soon, I feared I might be unable to retreat from the inevitable tide approaching. It was on a Thursday evening that IT unfolded. The house lay in silence, the atmosphere thick with an unusual weight. Just as I completed my dinner, the rain began to pour fiercely, and then came the abrupt darkness of a power outage. In the absence of lights and distractions, with only the flickering glow of candles to provide warmth, the ambiance transformed. Aiden entered the living room, 2 glasses of wine delicately balanced in his hands. "I thought you might find this helpful," he said, a gentle smile gracing his lips. With a moment of uncertainty, I reached for the glass. We lingered in quietude, the sole melody being the rain's gentle percussion upon the windows. The wine lowered my defenses. Our dialogue meandered through the landscape of memories, weaving in and out of the tapestry of emotions. He shared his feelings of being adrift, lately expressing gratitude for the comfort of home and the sense of safety he found in my presence. The truth washed over me, bringing a sense of solace. Then he uttered a phrase that froze me in my tracks. "It's astonishing how little you recognize your own brilliance, isn't it?" I gazed at him, a swirl of confusion in my mind, yet he held my gaze steadfastly. "You are worthy of a person who truly recognizes your essence." He went on, "someone who genuinely ignites a sense of vitality within you." My heart raced with fervor. I felt the urge to brush it aside, to convey that this was not acceptable. However, I chose not to. I allowed his words to permeate my thoughts. I found myself yearning for affection, for validation. In that instant, the identity of the giver held no significance. I confided in him that there were moments when I sensed myself slipping away within these walls, as if no one truly noticed my presence any longer. He extended his hand toward mine, cradling it softly, and I found myself not wanting to withdraw. It seemed utterly instinctive, enveloped in silence, as if our presence here was dictated not by desire, but by the inexorable pull of fate. His touch was gentle, almost tentative. It lacked aggression. It was gentle and heartfelt. After years of fading into the background, I finally felt seen. His gaze transcended mere observation, delving deeper into my very essence. They embraced me, occupying the void my husband had long since left behind. He inched nearer. I ought to have intervened. I did not. Our lips met gently with a lingering tenderness. The kiss conveyed a depth of emotion that language could never capture. It was neither chaotic nor hurried. It was profound, brimming with the emotions we had long concealed. As it concluded, we lingered in quietude, each of us acutely aware that we had traversed a line that could never be erased. I rose from my seat, declared my intention to retire for the night, and departed, leaving him in silence. Yet slumber eluded me. My heart pounded in my chest. My thoughts whirled in a tumultuous dance. I was acutely aware of the wrongdoing that lay between us. It transcended the mere act of a kiss. It was an act of treachery. Not merely of my husband, but of all that I believed I represented. And yet a fragment of my being remained untouched by regret. A fragment of my being stirred, recognized, and caressed in a manner I had long since overlooked as attainable. Words failed to capture it. I had no desire to do so, yet I was acutely aware that everything had irrevocably changed. A transformation stirred within me. Something I could never restore. The following morning, I steered clear of making eye contact. I navigated the kitchen as if all was well, yet an unsettling dissonance lingered in the air. Aiden strolled into the room with an air of nonchalance, yet I could sense a shift in his demeanor, calm, self-assured, as if a boundary had been crossed, and he bore no remorse for it. He extended a kind offer to assist with breakfast. I inclined my head, my gaze fixed elsewhere. The unspoken tension that lingered between us was palpable, a force that could not be ignored. The kiss remained unspoken between us. Neither of us dared to mention it, yet it lingered in the atmosphere, a secret too palpable to dismiss. I repeatedly reassured myself that it was merely a fleeting moment, a fragile misstep in discernment. Yet, as his hand grazed mine once more, I remained still. As he positioned himself just behind me to grasp a plate, an involuntary response coursed through my body. Within me, a tempest of shame and excitement surged. Later that day, I noticed him observing me not casually, but with a deliberate focus. His gaze scrutinized me, examining my face, my gestures every nuance as if it held significance. It had been years since I experienced such a captivating focus, neither from my husband nor from anyone else. It was an error. I was aware of it, yet I found myself unable to resist the allure of wanting more. Aiden found himself dedicating more hours to the comforts of home, rather than the company of his friends. He crafted reasons to linger in my presence: movie nights, running errands, leisurely walks. Our dialogues grew more profound. He inquired about my early years, my aspirations, and the sacrifices I had made throughout the years. I came to understand the extent to which I had concealed my true self in the name of a union that offered me no reciprocation. I made an effort to establish boundaries. I expressed to him that this could not go on, that it was fraught with danger and marked by recklessness. He absorbed the words acknowledged with a nod and offered an apology. Yet in the very next instant, he discovered me in solitude, and with a hushed voice, he confessed that I occupied his thoughts incessantly. He believed I was worthy of far more than being abandoned by someone who remained oblivious to my tears as I drifted into slumber. Each word pierced through the fabric of my being, mending the frayed edges of my soul. One evening, he gently caressed my face and whispered, "You need not continue the charade. It is permissible to embrace your emotions once more." I chose not to respond. I had no need to. The glance I cast his way conveyed everything. The boundary of emotion had been irrevocably breached. The ensuing events were entirely unanticipated. It was destined to happen. I no longer recognized the person I had become. I found myself a woman caught in the throes of guilt and longing, balancing loyalty with an intense yearning to be desired. I reassured myself that I remained in command, that I could halt this before it spiraled out of control. Yet the reality was that I had already succumbed. And yet I was haunted by the potential repercussions, not merely of being discovered, but of the inevitable moment when he would depart again, when his respite would conclude, leaving me solitary in this house once more. Would he carry this version of me along on his journey? Or would I find myself shattered once more? This time, through an irreversible error, Aiden's break was drawing to a close, and the burden of our actions started to weigh more heavily on us both. In his moments of silence, it was evident to me. His gaze spoke volumes, yet his words remained few. Our silence now bore an unsettling weight. He began to pack, feeling a sense of guilt rather than intimacy. With each shirt I folded, I sensed fragments of my delicate world crumbling away. We had indeed crossed a line, but what lies ahead, we never discussed what lay ahead. He made no promises, and I made no inquiries. I sought no illusions. I had spent years ensconced in a deceptive cocoon of safety, alongside a husband who scarcely acknowledged my presence. Yet this was unlike anything else. It was unrefined, powerful, and misguided, yet undeniably authentic. And now, it must come to a close. On the eve of his departure, he approached me, a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes, for the first time since this all began. He made no move to grasp my hand. He gazed at me, an unspoken desire to communicate lingering in the air, yet the words remained trapped within him. I harbor no regrets. He spoke softly, yet I have no desire to disrupt your life either. I nodded, speechless in my silence, my throat constricted. Uncertainty lingered within me, caught between the pangs of heartbreak and the soothing embrace of relief. As he departed the following morning, I lingered at the threshold, akin to a stranger observing someone exit her existence without a hint of formality. No farewells, no commitments, merely a fleeting instant truncated. The house sank back into its silence, yet an unsettling chill lingered in the air. As the days unfolded, my husband came back seemingly untouched by the passage of time. He returned with mementos tales from discussions and recounted business negotiations during dinner. He remained oblivious to my deliberate evasion of his gaze. He remained oblivious to the emptiness that had taken root within me. I had surrendered myself to another body and soul, and though it was evident, it remained a truth known only to me. Initially, I believed guilt would engulf me, yet what washed over me was a profound sorrow, not solely for my actions, but for the countless years spent in the shadows feeling unseen. The treachery lay not merely in the kiss or the caress. It was in the moment of understanding that an individual who was never meant to hold significance had perceived me with greater clarity in a mere week than my husband had managed over the span of years. Aidan sent a brief message, "Take care of yourself." For hours I found myself transfixed by it, contemplating every detail before finally mustering the resolve to erase it. I understood that we could not persist, and I was equally aware that returning to the past was not an option. I had transformed, and that transformation was irreversible. Ultimately, I found myself in a marriage that appeared whole on the outside, yet was utterly empty within. I spent my days alongside a man who believed that all was well. As I bore the burden of decisions that were irrevocable, I found myself unable to reclaim what had been lost. Perhaps the true consequence lies not in the act of being discovered, but in enduring the weight of unspoken words. I discovered that love devoid of attention is merely a routine, while attention lacking commitment is nothing more than a lure. In the midst of it all, I misplaced a fragment of my being that is forever beyond my reach.